need a resident in the White House. We need a president who puts America first and not his business dealings with corrupt foreign countries. I think the man that we need to put back in the White House will be here center stage tonight.
I can't. You ever try to just show a dog its reflection in the mirror and you try, but it's just impossible? Yeah, Lauren Boebert has less self-awareness than that. So that we're clear, Lauren Boebert is criticizing Biden's corrupt business dealings with foreign countries while at the same time applauding Donald Trump because up is down and left is right and words don't have meaning anymore. Now, I didn't think I'd have to get into this again, but the guy who Boebert is pandering to had just a few foreign entanglements while he was in office, like how Trump claimed to have closed down certain bank accounts abroad, and yet, according to his own tax returns, that wasn't the case. Here's what Trump pretended about his Chinese bank account, followed by the reality.
This is for you. Since you took office, you've never divested from your business. You've personally promoted your properties abroad. A report this week, which was referenced, does indicate that your company has a bank account in China. So how can voters know that you don't have any foreign conflicts of interest?
I have many bank accounts, and they're all listed, and they're all over the place. I mean, I was a businessman doing business. The bank account you're referring to, which is everybody knows about it, it's listed. The bank account was in 2013. That's when it was. It was opened it was closed in 2015, I believe. And then I decided, because I was thinking about doing a deal in China like millions of other people. I was thinking about it, and I decided I'm not going to do it. Didn't like it. I decided not to do it. Had an account open, and I closed it.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then, unlike him, where he's vice president and he does business, I then decided to run for president after that. That was before. So I closed it before I even ran for president, let alone became president. Big difference.
The other thing, and this is important because it was one of the things that we are looking for in these additional documents, is his foreign bank accounts. We have just learned that he did hold foreign bank accounts the entire time that he was in office. In 2015, actually, let's start with 2016. He had bank accounts in the United Kingdom, Ireland, China, and St. Martin. 2017, UK, Ireland, and China, and then 2018 and 2020 just in the UK. The reason why this is so important, we're going to do a deeper dive into all these foreign entities, is because the entanglement that Trump had with foreign business was a huge part of the narrative while he was in office. And now we're going to find out actually how far that actually went.
I'm sorry, but I just find it so funny that this guy predicated his entire political identity on being tough on China. The guy was doing business in China. He had bank accounts in China. He was in bed financially with the Chinese, all while making his supporters out to look like abject fools by just offering some surface-level condemnation. Apparently, if you're a Republican, all you have to do is offer up some empty rhetoric saying China bad, and then you have carte blanche to stay in bed with the Chinese indefinitely. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, no one has more contempt for Republican voters than Republican politicians. And it didn't stop with the Chinese. What about the Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C., which was essentially a foreign way station for dignitaries looking to curry favor with Trump? And that includes the Saudis booking 500 rooms to the tune of $270,000 just after Trump's inauguration. Does that not count as foreign corruption? What about when Ivanka was granted a total of 41 trademarks from the Chinese government during Trump's term? Does that not count as foreign corruption? What about when Don Jr. and Eric controlled the Trump Organization, which they pledged would have no new foreign deals while their father was in office, and yet instead of no new foreign deals, they sold more than $100 million worth of real estate while Trump was in office. And that includes $3.2 million worth of land in the Dominican Republic and more than $1 billion worth of luxury residential units in India built by the Trump Organization. Does that not count as foreign corruption? And of course, what about Jared Kushner's company buying 666 Fifth Avenue for $1.8 billion just prior to the 2008 economic crash, which expectedly became a massive financial burden on the company? A $1.4 billion mortgage was due in February of 2019, so Kushner appealed to Qatar for investment help, which he didn't receive. Kushner then vocally supported supported a blockade on Qatar in what some saw as retaliation. Ultimately, a firm bailed them out, and that firm's biggest investor, Qatar. And surprise, no new vocal calls in support of any blockades. Does that not count as foreign corruption? Because I get that these people have taken up residence inside of Trump's colon, and that might impact their perception, but if you have a pulse, you'll see that all Trump trafficked in was foreign corruption. But in a way, what Lauren Boebert is saying is the perfect example of the delusion that pervades the entire right-wing media ecosystem. Because that ecosystem is hermetically sealed, it's impossible for facts to breach it. And so despite the fact that I just wheeled off half a dozen instances of foreign corruption, there is a 0% chance that any Fox News or OAN or Newsmax viewers know about it. That's what happens when the quote-unquote news, the right-wing gatekeepers, are also the propagandists. And that's not just me lobbing an accusation. The Dominion lawsuit proved it. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt that Fox knew the stolen 2020 election conspiracy theories were bullshit because they admitted that they were bullshit. Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, even Rupert Murdoch himself acknowledged that the claims of fraud in the 2020 election and the jackasses who spewed them were wrong. And yet what do? They put this on air.
Not only did they use a Venezuelan company to count our ballots, which almost should be illegal per se. Number two, they didn't allow Republicans in key places to observe the mail vote. That makes the mail vote completely invalid. Now, they didn't do it everywhere. They did it in big cities where they have corrupt machines that will protect them, meaning in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, and Pittsburgh, in Detroit. They didn't have to do it in Chicago, in New York, or Boston. They could have. They have corrupt machines there. They did it absolutely in Phoenix, Arizona. They did it absolutely in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Republicans were shut out.
We've got evidence of corruption all across the country in countless districts. The machine ran an algorithm that shaved votes from Trump and awarded them to Biden. They used the machines to trash large batches of votes that should have been awarded to President Trump. And they used a machine to inject and add massive quantities of votes for Mr. Biden.
With this particular thing that's going on now, I've been all in trying to find the machine fraud, and we found it. We have all the evidence. So what all these outlets that have been calling me, from the Washington Post, New York Times, every outlet in the country, they go, Mike Lindell, there's no evidence, and he's making fraudulent statements. No, I have the evidence. I dare people to put it on. I dare Dominion to sue me, because then it would get out faster.
And yet, to get to my point here, no one watching Fox will ever know because Fox won't tell them. And so the very people who could benefit the most from knowing that Fox is straight disinformation will never know because the gatekeepers will never acknowledge it. So when you wonder how these people on the right can live in a separate reality, this is why. And so while it is inconceivable to us that Lauren Boebert can take the stage at CPAC and condemn Joe Biden about foreign corruption for which there exists no evidence, while applauding in the same breath someone like Donald Trump whose very existence is predicated on foreign corruption, that's because the right has a vested interest in keeping its audience segregated from the truth. They do it on TV, they do it at CPAC, they do it everywhere they can because when the facts aren't on their side, their only other option is just to lie. Before you go, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. You can click the thumbnail right here on this screen. And if you want to support my work even further, the best way is to subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. There you can check out my interviews with major players in the world of politics, including President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Katie Porter, Jamie Raskin, and so many more. Plus other interviews that live exclusively on the podcast. That link is also right here on this screen, or just search No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen wherever you listen to podcasts.